All right, folks, we have a Ripple victory that is fast approaching. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Been 3 years in this lawsuit. Ripple's had to shell out $200 million. And obviously, the damages done to the XRP community are massive. But we got the victory for the XRP community. Now we're watching Ripple hash it out with the SEC over what has been ruled as investment contract offerings by Judge Torres. And we're talking about the sales to institutional investors. And so I put out a video a few weeks back while I was on vacation talking about how $3 billion was on the line for Ripple because of this most recent motion to compel from the SEC, trying to include all of the post-complaint sales in the lawsuit that's ongoing. What that means is all of the post-complaint, that's the lawsuit, from 2020, December 2020 is when the lawsuit was filed. All of the last 3 years of Ripple selling XRP to their on-demand liquidity partners, the SEC was trying to include all of that in this ongoing lawsuit and basically extend and add to the ongoing litigation, which is not how it works. And thankfully, we got a little bit of clarity here from John Deaton, because when that came out a few weeks back, I shared my thoughts on it. That's why I titled the video $3 billion on the line, because if the SEC was able to convince the judge, they were going to get the financial statements from 22 and 23, and they were going to get to see all of the contracts that took place after the SEC filed that lawsuit. Now, so we got a little bit of insight from the actual expert. You guys know I'm not a lawyer, and so this is why I got to give a huge shout out to John Deaton for keeping us up to date on this case and for fighting on behalf of the XRP community as well. God bless him. And so he dropped a full update on his YouTube channel. I would encourage you guys to go watch that. Fantastic update, but I got the quick bullet points right here, and I wanted to share that these key takeaways with you guys here today. Now, before I get into it, though, I want to let everyone know we are getting shadow banned right now, and YouTube is not sending out the notifications. So make sure you subscribe to that notification bell so you can stay up to date with us. Now, part of it is we're dropping videos that we're not supposed to be talking about. Earlier today, we dropped the most recent Biden bombshell. That one's been buried. We dropped another video this morning on the banking crisis. That one's been buried. And I'm getting a lot of people in our community that are saying, hey, not seeing your videos, not getting the notifications. So make sure you've hit that bell and stay up to date with us, because you know the deal. We're just going to keep it real with you guys, bringing the news on the current events, financial markets, and how to get you, your family, and your business on the right side of the transfer of wealth that is already underway. Obviously, this SEC versus Ripple case, XRP, this has all been part of this transfer of wealth. And the battle that's ongoing here for 3 years with the SEC, trying to include all of the XRP community, getting struck down by Judge Torres, saying that XRP in and of itself is not a security. That was the big victory for the community. At this point, all that we're battling out right now is the fact that Judge Torres ruled all of the institutional sales were investment contracts. And basically what she said is, I'm holding my sticky notes, but I don't have a piece of paper with, anything that had a contract tied to it was an investment contract, unregistered securities offering. That's what Judge Torres ruled. And she didn't distinguish between the sales that were for, on-demand liquidity, utility, and the sales that were just, institutions that wanted to pick up a bag. She just said all of these institutional sales that included an investment contract or included in a contract were unregistered securities offerings. And so, like I said, I shared my thoughts on the initial SEC motion to compel. That was a few weeks ago. Now we got to hear from an expert, John Deaton, chiming in and providing clarity, and we were pretty much spot on. And so what Ripple is going to have to show is that there's there's a special exemption here to be had because these sales went to institutions and accredited investors. This is where Ripple is going to be able to, make a case maybe that not all of those sales that Judge Torres ruled should be part of the penalty, right? And one of the things that John mentioned is that he thinks that the fine is going to be way less than the amount that Ripple has paid in legal fees. He says that this is not meant to punish Ripple. This is more so set to say, hey, this is where you screwed up. You need to pay a little fine for that, and then you can carry on with your business. That's not good enough for the SEC, obviously. You know the enemy that we're dealing with. And that's why they're trying to add in all of these sales after the lawsuit was filed. What I think Ripple would be able to do if they had to, put these up and they had to defend themselves in this regard on all of the post-complaint sales, I believe that they would be able to say, hey, look at the way that this sale was structured. There is no investment contract here. This is simply us selling XRP in exchange for dollars or whatever currency they accepted, and it's going to somebody, an institution that's going to use it for on-demand liquidity. There is no investment contract. There is no expectations. There is no lockup periods. But Ripple shouldn't even have to defend themselves against this post-complaint sales because it's not part of the original lawsuit. This is where the SEC once again is trying to skirt around how the law works and get all of these post-complaint sales added, right? And so we are going to see here shortly. We're expecting, I believe that the date is February 12th. And so here in the next couple weeks, we're going to get an answer from Judge Torres. The discovery portion of the remedies here is what it's called, the official legal term, is supposed to be concluding in the next 2 weeks. So once that's done, we will have the answer whether or not the judge is going to force Ripple to turn over the financial statements for 22 and 23, and whether the judge is going to force Ripple to turn over those investment contracts so that they can be included in this lawsuit. I don't think that she's going to rule that, simply because I don't think that from what John and other legal experts are saying, that's not how this works, right? You can't include something after the fact, after discovery's already been concluded, right? The discovery portion of this case is when the SEC should have been saying, hey, we want to include these ongoing sales that Ripple's been conducting. I firmly believe that the only reason Ripple was able to feel comfortable doing those sales is because they structured them in a way that they knew there was no investment contract, right? Now, the big key takeaway and why I say that the Ripple victory is fast approaching is John Deaton is suggesting that the fine that is most likely going to be a slap on the wrist for Ripple is going to be way less than the legal fees that Ripple has paid. Now, the legal fees that Ripple has paid is about $200 million. You guys know that. And so he's saying way less. And so are we talking like 10%? Are we talking 25%? Could we see a fine, 10 to 50 million is kind of the range that I'm thinking, right? Where it's not really meant to damage Ripple so much as to just stop any other companies from doing this, right? And so think about this, Ripple having to sign off and having to pay a fine of 10 to 50 million bucks. That's not a big deal for a company that's sitting on over $1 billion cash. They're still cash flow positive. Obviously, they still have a bunch of XRP. That would just be a little bump in the road for Ripple to pay that fine and be able to carry on with their business. And I firmly believe that the SEC is going to be constrained. I don't think that they're going to appeal on this just because the case is so bulletproof. The fact that Judge Torres denied the interlocutory appeal, we'll see if she denies this as well. And if she denies this, then it's really going to prove that, yeah, some of the early sales that Ripple conducted, they're going to admit, yeah, we had lockup periods, we had stipulations, we had expectations. Sure, called an investment contract. But who was it to? Accredited investors and institutions. So how big should the fine be? And you also have to consider that this was back when XRP, the sales that are mentioned in this complaint, this is all back when XRP was way less than the current price today. So all of those investors are in profit. There was no damages done. So we're just getting Ripple on a technicality, right, that they didn't register these offerings. And so this is, in my opinion, going to be a done deal here very soon where Ripple pays a fine, $10 to $50 million, and then they're able to go about their business with the understanding of how to distribute XRP going forward. And that's what's important, right? Once Ripple can determine how they can sell XRP going forward, then they can freely get XRP into the hands of these institutions, banks, partners that are going to be using XRP for its utility, right? And you got examples of cross-border payments. We have other folks that are talking about derivatives. We have tokenized real-world assets that are coming on-chain. Obviously, we just got the amendment passing for the AMM. We have NFTs. This is a flourishing, growing ecosystem despite the cloud that the SEC put over us. But the victory for Ripple is fast approaching. And I believe that even having to pay that slap on the wrist fine of 20 to 50 million bucks, that can be claimed as a victory for for Ripple, and we've already got the victory for the broader XRP community, as Judge Torres ruled that XRP in and of itself is not a security. So the full update, real quick, is in conclusion, is that we're going to find out from Judge Torres whether or not she's going to force Ripple to turn this over sometime in the next couple weeks. And then after that, this is the discovery phase of remedies. After that is done, then we get to see this case probably conclude sometime May, June, probably by the 4th of July. By the time that we're celebrating America on the 4th of July, this case could very well be done. And even if we get some extensions, we get some back and forth, even if that happens, we're definitely looking at this case concluding this year. Now, barring any sort of appeal, this would be the end of the case. We would be going about our business. But, you have to leave that probability out there. There definitely is a chance. I just don't think that it's likely based off the fact that the SEC has already been struck down on interlocutory appeal. And if the judge turns them down on this as well, then that would mean that everything that Ripple has been doing since 2020 is probably good to go. And the judge doesn't think that it should be included in this case. And the reason why Ripple was comfortable doing it is because it wasn't offered as an investment contract or structured in any sort of way where it could be determined to be one. So with that being said, folks, good news for the XRP community as we're watching AMM going live, more utility coming to the XRP ledger for everyone to use. But once we see Ripple get cleared up from this, I think that we're going to start to see some of the biggest institutions and banks in the world admit that, yes, we've been interested in XRP. And we weren't just interested, we signed on to a pre-allocation contract with Ripple to get some XRP. We're going to be using XRP for on-demand liquidity, other utilities, and we're going to be adding it to our balance sheet. I firmly believe that those announcements are going to be coming within the year after this case concludes. And it's looking like this case is coming to an end very, very soon. The other thing that I want to say is I think a lot of people are what would the term be? They are not giving enough credit to Ripple for the pre-allocation contracts, and they're underestimating. That's what I was looking for. Sorry. I have a little bit of a cold right now, a little bit of snivels in I feel like I have a little bit of a head cold. I'm not as quick with it as I usually am. They're underestimating Ripple and all of the pre-allocation contracts that they've done for XRP. I think that there's a lot that's taken place behind the scenes that's under NDA, and people are forgetting about that. Where are all these institutions at? Where are all the banks at? Just take a deep breath and let this case conclude. And then I think we're going to see some announcements coming out. And I'm not just saying this either. Remember, we already have institutions like R3 that did add 1 billion XRP to their balance sheet. And this was after they tried to get 5 billion from Ripple. So don't tell me that institutions aren't picking up XRP. R3 tried to get 5 billion. So I think a lot of people are underestimating. Why am I getting so hung up on that word? Underestimating how many pre-allocation contracts Ripple has done and how much XRP they've already pre-allocated. With that being said, folks, I'm going to wrap up this update. I will see you guys in the next one. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. All of our community resources can be found at my website, ZachRector.com. And if you guys could smash that thumbs up for me on the way out, I would greatly appreciate it. Let me know in the comments down below when you think that this case is going to be concluding. It looks like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I cannot wait to put this one behind us. I'll see you in the next one. God bless.